Since 1996, I've been conducting research on the intersecting themes of youth, urban life, masculinity, and HIV in Eastern Africa. Since then, both HIV and the African cities where I conduct research have grown rapidly, as has the global response to HIV. The places I research have been overwhelmed by HIV and international interventions for nearly 30 years. As I approach the 20-year anniversary of my research, I'm increasingly intrigued by the following question. How have gender and sexuality in urban Africa been reshaped by the presence of HIV, as well as the global response to it? When I began research in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, HIV had already been spreading for more than 10 years, and urban life and modernity were locally understood to create the context for its spread. Although effective pharmaceutical treatments for HIV had recently been identified, these were not yet available in Tanzania. That would take another 8 years. Most international interventions focused on preventing HIV by either targeting presumably high-risk populations with safer sex campaigns or through attempts to empower women, based on the assumption that HIV was spreading so rapidly among heterosexuals in Africa because women had little power to negotiate sexual relations. By examining such interventions, we can learn a lot about the ways that Western donors and researchers imagine gender and sexuality in Africa. Whereas managing African gender and sexuality have been concerns of the West since at least the colonial era, the emergence of AIDS in the 1980s further pathologized and moralized African sexuality. From this perspective, African men were presumed to be naturally promiscuous and often predatory. In an article in the Annual Review of Anthropology, I examine HIV in historical perspective, drawing out continuities between the pre- and post-treatment eras. In both eras, at least in Africa, gender and sexuality figure prominently. One striking difference, however, is that in the age of treatment, men and masculinity emerge as objects of both research and intervention. This shift in policy and practice, as well as the political and scientific claims used to motivate the shift, will be the focus of my recently funded ERC project on masculinities in urban Africa.